Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the members of the audience from around the world who decided to join us. Thank you for joining us. Today, we have the honor to have with us distinguished scholars in the field of media and information literacy. We will discuss the book of Dr. Dren Gërguri, which is titled Information Disorder in the Digital Age. We have with us as discussants our scholars, colleagues, and friends, Professor Nikos Panagiotou from Greece, and journalist, scholar, and writer, Mr. Levossi Sayed. This international e-seminar, the 8th International E-Seminar on Contemporary Issues in Media and Information Literacy, is organized in celebration of the Global UNESCO Media and Information Literacy Week, organized by Moulay Ismail University of Meknes, in partnership with the UNESCO, United Nations Alliance of Civilizations, University Network on Media and Information Literacy, and Intercultural Dialogue with the International Steering Committee of UNESCO Media and Information Literacy Alliance, of which I have the honor to be the co-chair, and in partnership with MEDEA, Mediterranean Europe, and Africa. Let me just share the screen to welcome and give a brief introduction about the book and the speakers. So as I said, this is in celebration of Global Media and Information Literacy Week, and we have the honor to discuss, this is the book cover of Dr. Dren, Information Disorder in the Digital Age. You may pay attention, please, that the word fake news is crossed in red. I will come to that in my presentation of the book. Few words about the author, Dr. Dren Gërguri. He is a lecturer at the Department of Journalism, University of Prishtina in Kosovo. He is a Fulbright scholar. He spent the last academic year 23-24 at the University of Houston in the United States. He was a former TV journalist. Actually, he is an associate editor at the Central European Journal of Communication. His research agenda is at the intersection of disinformation, political communication, and journalism. He published a number of books, book chapters, scientific articles, and a huge number of op-eds, which are translated to more than 10 languages. And his recent publications include the book that we are discussing today, plus other books, The Relationship Between Topics, Negativity, and User Engagement in Election Campaigns on Facebook, and Kosovo, the Political Crisis. His blog, personal blog, is given for those who want to know more about him. We welcome warmly our first discussant, Professor Nikos Panagiotou, well-known with all the activities and mobilization for media and information literacy. He is well known for as initiator and organizer of the Thessaloniki International Media Summer Academy, as the president of Digital Communications Network, as the director of Peace Journalism Lab. Dr. Panagiotto is professor at the School of Journalism and Mass Media Communication at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. He has been a visiting professor at APU University in Japan, and he has been awarded so many scholarships. He has extensive research work, which has been funded by Google D&I Initiative Fund. And he oversees the International Center for the Safety of Journalists and Media Professionals. He is also a scientific advisor at the Center for Foreign Policy Planning at the Greek Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The second discussion, the famous, well-known, renowned journalist, scholar, educator, and writer, Mr. Alexander Lovosi Sayed. Alexander has been working in the area of education and media for over 23 years as a researcher, a scholar, a consultant on policies to combat misinformation and disinformation and strengthen media education. He is well known as the director of Zeitgeist, which is an innovation hub in education, culture, and media. He also works as a consultant in media literacy for the UNESCO headquarters in Paris and for the UNESCO office in Montevideo, Uruguay. He hosts on television the TV show Idade Medicia on Canal Futura in its 5th season. And in one of the webinars, I learned that this program, which is targeted towards raising awareness, critical thinking, media literacy, information literacy, ranks first in Brazil. Congratulations. He is also a columnist for Revista Educación, and he is the author of more than 20 books. The last one of them is so timely, Artificial Intelligence and Critical Thinking. He also wrote, he is a novelist, he also wrote a young adult novel, and he served as the co-chair of the International Steering Committee of UNESCO Media and Information Literacy Alliance. He has lectured in over 15 countries and 12 foreign universities. Myself, I have the honor to be the program director and moderator of the series International Seminars on Contemporary Issues in Media and Information Literacy. I'm a linguist and communication scholar. I have a Ph.D. in linguistics and communication from the Sorbonne Nouvelle University in Paris, Paris 3, France. I have the honor to be the co-chair of the International Steering Committee of UNESCO Media Information Literacy. I am a founding member of so many organizations working in the field of media and information literacy, the UNESCO University Network on Media and Information Literacy, the MEDEA Mediterranean, Europe, and Africa. I was a formal consultant in linguistics and communication. I have 10 years experience in diplomacy and international relations, and a number of publications and invited talks, both as a linguist and communication scholar. And could you please mute yourself? So the book in brief, the book of Dr. Dren, Information Disorder in the Digital Age. Actually, the book was published in Albanian, which is something very good, linking media and information literacy to local context and making it accessible to citizens in their national context, something to be applauded. And then the book was translated into English during the Fulbright mission of Dr. Dren to the US. It was published and made open access. So, and this also is to be uploaded because he made this information accessible to all so that anyone interested to know, to protect themselves, to enhance their information and digital skills, to make the most of their use and online lives, they will find this book, which is accessible, and the link is as it appears in the screen. So this book explores information disorder in the world of today and how this information is rapidly spreading in our digital world, especially with the emergence of artificial intelligence. You see that the author, the word fake news is crossed out with red ink, which is so revealing because if it is fake, it is not news. So why is it that the word and fake news is used so frequently and it has wide access while there is an incoherence between the two words composing it? This word was made as a buzzword during the I think 2016 during the election campaign, and it was highlighted by former President Trump as to make people distrust or mistrust the news and democratic institutions and the press and journalism as the fourth estate. So Dr. Dren will talk to us about why we should not use fake news and why it is important to pay attention to the word of information, disinformation, misinformation, malinformation, and all these related issues. So this book offers insights and solutions related to everyone. This is a problem, this is a task, this is a challenge for everyone. And it is good to be able to be media and information literate in order to know when to share, to think before sharing, to know how to evaluate online resources, to know how to evaluate the veracity and accuracy and reliability of news. News literacy is very important in this regard. So this is about considering how information affects each one of us, how to be empowered by communication and media and information literacy in all aspects of our everyday lives, spanning from ordinary to academic to professional settings. With this, I will give the floor to the first discussant, Professor Panagiotou, to enlighten us and share with us his remarks about the book. The floor is yours, Dr. Panagiot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Huit. I would like to start my presentation and actually comment of the very interesting book of my very good friend, Dr. Dren, and congratulate him for the initiative, because as you have highlighted, actually what it is needed, it is to be able to adjust in national languages context that has the ability and opportunity to discuss global issues in a national context. Having said that, you will allow me actually to say a few words regarding the topic and the book. So we are all aware of that the rapid dissemination of fake news and disinformation actually poses a significant threat to our democracies, but most importantly, challenges a lot on the current approaches on how to address the phenomenon. Yesterday, I had a discussion to approach the topic in a panel again. So I emphasized the following: that disinformation existed before, or someone might say that even in established media we have seen disinformation as well. But what it is the crucial differentiation between that era and this era, it is that it is totally different when it comes from someone that is unknown, someone that it is anonymous. So this book, Fake News Information Disorders in the Digital Age, aims and succeeds a lot to discuss the complexities of this phenomenon as it analyzes the roots of misinformation, exploring actually how new media technologies, social platforms, and algorithms have fostered, created environments where disinformation can flourish. What I also value in Dr. Dren's approach, it is that he fosters an interdisciplinary perspective that examines both the socio-political impact of fake news, while also explores strategies for mitigating its influence on public discourse. So we have one thing that it relates a lot of the phenomenon per se, and another important element it is what are the implications. So going beyond the definition, because there has been a lot of discussion about it, the book addresses how technological advancements, including AI, social media algorithms, and bot networks have accelerated the spread of false information. It also looks at the challenges faced by traditional journalism and fact-checking organizations, since they both constitute part of what I call an ecosystem that needs to be mobilized. To that ecosystem, I think that we need actually to change our perspective. So how can traditional journalism address it? By changing the practices, by enriching actually the newsroom. And here it is why it is very important actually to adopt and work in this interdisciplinary approach. So in addition, Dr. Dren work sheds light on the psychological and cognitive factors that make individuals more susceptible to fake news, exploring concepts such as confirmation bias, echo chambers, and the role of emotional manipulation in viral disinformation campaigns. I think it is an important work because it is also offers potential solutions, but most importantly, policy recommendations, making it as such not a purely theoretical work, but rather a research work that manages to address both needs, the theoretical discussion and how this can be evolved into specific political recommendations. So among the recommendations that I would like to highlight, based on actually of our common background around media literacy, is that the proposal about digital literacy initiatives, legal frameworks, ethical responsibilities, as well as the role of technology in identifying and reducing information disorder. So if I would actually highlight some specific elements, I will pay particular attention on the mechanism behind the fake news consumption. Concepts such as confirmation bias and the influence of social validation is discussed very thoroughly. While in addition, what I would actually emphasize, it is the case studies of elections, public health crisis, and global events that have impacted by fake news. All this environment constitutes what it has been described in the chapter as journalism in crisis. I totally agree. Journalism, it is in crisis. So we need actually to take a critical look, as this specific book does, in the challenges faced by traditional journalism and fact-checking organizations. Actually, putting it ahead the difficulty of countering viral disinformation. So the potential role of AI technologies in order to make a breakthrough for the next commentator, a very good friend and very well-known researcher as well, Alexander, it is actually AI and technology. There is a lot of discussion about whether or not technology and its role and how it stands, whether it undermines, whether it poses a major threat. I think that wherever there are threats, there are also solutions. So this is what this book serves as a guide for academics, journalists, policymakers, offering to all of us both an understanding, but also a blueprint for addressing a complex media environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Panagiotou, for your enlightening remarks. May I inform the audience that Dr. Dren took as two case studies, the spread of disinformation in Kosovo, as well as the spread of disinformation and misinformation during the pandemic. So these were actually the case studies. Now I give the floor to the author, Dr. Dren Gërguri. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Shuit. Thank you for inviting me and for having me here together with you and the other participants. It's a great pleasure being among great scholars, great friends, new friends for the future. And I'm very happy to discuss my book, which, as you mentioned in the beginning, in the first place, it was published in Albanian, in Prishtina. And when I moved to US during my Fulbright journey, and I started to have some lectures at the University of Houston, I saw that some parts of the book were interesting for students, and I thought that it would be a good option, a good idea to start and working on it to have it in English, all the whole book. And of course, like my idea as it is like to made it open access because I believe that the topic is very important for anyone. And as much as we have open access materials, books, and other kind of contents on these issues for the public, it's very important because we are on daily basis, we are dealing with different kind of information manipulation. on the book, I started to work during COVID-19. That's why also a part of the book, it's focused on that. And in the beginning, it was just the idea of helping the society, like anyone from different aspects was trying to contribute. And my idea was that, okay, I think I can do something when it comes to information, starting from the model that I proposed, like back on that time, June 2020, we didn't have a vaccine yet. And I called the model the vaccine for infodemic, like saying that, okay, we don't have the vaccine for pandemic, and we are looking for that, but on the other side, let's be safe on the information environment, and let's see what kind of information we are believing, and let's try to not believe everything as it happened in most of cases everywhere, not only like my country in Kosovo, but it happened in Europe, it happened all over the world. On the book, my idea was also like the target group is the general public, and parts of the book are also focused for different professions. Like one of the ideas that I tried to send in the beginning is the idea of the term, like why not to use fake news as a term, and why try to use the misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, and the distinction between types of false information, which is important for everyone. And also I wanted to show what's the role of social media, the role of technology. Lately, I revised the version, adding some elements of what is happening on AI age, because in Albanian, the parts with ChatGPT are not there. It's something that I added only on the English version. It's something that I wrote more recently. And also it was the idea of showing that ChatGPT as a tool still has a lack of accuracy, especially when it comes to non-English languages. And that was one of the ideas when I wrote that part of the book, when I explain how ChatGPT works practically. And also all over the book, always my idea was like to explain it practically, anything that is going on, even on social media, even about disinformation on TV, Kosovo, COVID, Ukraine, and any kind of other topics. And I believe that when we combine the theoretical and explanation part with more practical information, and it's always, at least on my opinion, a better approach to general public, to have it more clear what is going on, and what is happening on the information environment. Also, I wanted to explain the impact, as Dr. Panayiotou mentioned, the impact of disinformation and misinformation on democracy, on society, on health during the COVID time. And we had different examples when people believe something that it's not true, but unfortunately they act based on that kind of information because for them it was true. And that's why I also tried to like propose some solution besides the model that I mentioned with 3 basic questions. And recently I just published an article about a model on deepfakes, which now I'm more concerned about deepfakes and AI and disinformation, and the model, because like on the tools that we have, tech tools, we still don't have a tool that we can rely on when it's about detecting deepfakes. So we are in the situation that we need to like analyze it in a different way, so we can like be sure if it's a deepfake or not, the content that we are exposed to. On the book, I proposed the solution for disinformation without AI generated content. And the idea is to use these 3 basic questions as a model, as a vaccine for any kind of information manipulation. Who is the source? Is it on the other sources? So it's better to use multiple sources when we are dealing with information, and on what kind of sources do the news rely. On the proposed solution, I also talked about media literacy and critical thinking skills, which is very important to have it among the public. Also, I focused on Kosovo case and what we could do when we talk about media literacy, and on the ideas of having media literacy on schools, elementary and high school, as a not as an elective course as it is now in our country, but to be obligatory for all of us. And in fact, this is an initiative that has been started over a decade now by the Department of Journalism here at the University of Prishtina. And we are like, time by time, we are mentioning how important is to make some steps and to try to have media literacy as an obligatory course in pre-university level, and also at the same time working and preparing the new teachers that will teach media literacy on the schools, which is also very important, because for now in Kosovo, as other countries, we are dealing and we are having this challenge of a lack of national strategy on media literacy, of national curriculum on media literacy. And even though we have some media literacy courses in different parts of our country, their curricula is very different. And this is also an issue when we are talking, because what we are teaching to our students, even though the course is on media literacy. And also it's how to implement those regulatory frameworks to improve the situation, and also to hold platforms accountable, especially again when we are talking about platforms. It's always different being from Kosovo or smaller countries compared to bigger countries in the world when it comes to kind of content that you want to report. But even if it's a misinformation or a disinformation, and it's a different path for us in our languages compared to having something in English or other big languages in the world. I tried to move a little bit out of the book, because Dr. Panayoti presented it in a excellent way, and also like I would be very subjective to talk more about the book. It's something that you always like, it's yours, and for me it was really great hearing opinion of Dr. Panayoti on the book. And also I'm very open to discuss with the others too, and looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Dren, for these insightful elements concerning your book. As I said, it is the English version is open access, but what is another element of extreme importance is that it is addressed to the general public. This is very important to vulgarize the media and information literacy concepts and to make media information accessible to all, because we do believe, the media information literacy community under the leadership of UNESCO, that it is a fundamental human right. It should be accessible and empowering to all. So writing it in a very simple address to the general reader is something to be commended. You are commended for that. Now I give the floor to scholar, colleague and friend, Mr. Alexander Logosi Sayed. Alexander, the floor is yours.
Merci, Dr. Drisha. Thanks a lot. Talking about the COVID-19, after that and before that, I was not, I always say that I didn't take anything for granted in life. So when I meet a person like you three, Dr. Panayiotou, Dr. Shute, and Dr. Dren, Dr. Dren, Gërguri Dren, I always think that I need to thank to be invited, because I don't take it for granted. It's an honor, really an honor and a pleasure to be among you. And Dr. Dren, I just enjoyed a lot your book, because I think you moved in a direction that's very humble from you and from all the scholars that I admire. It's to be understood or understandable for a general audience. I think our duty as scholars, as researchers, as people that had access to universities and to research and to good university like Prishtina, like in Houston that you studied, a Fulbright scholar. It's our duty to serve the community, translating our knowledge to the general public. In Latin America, I'm based in Brazil. It's a discussion now. It's not a common sense that we scholars need to be accessible. This is not a common sense, but I do believe that we need to be accessible. And when I read a book that it's accessible to everyone, in the language, in the approach of the knowledge, I think it's a great start for. I think that researchers deserve another scholarship because it's a good step forward to have a special role in the development of the society. So in this sense, this book has a public servancy, has a public use for everyone who wants to understand the change and the difference between all the concepts and approach on the disinformation era that we are living in, or the information disorder, as you call in your book, that we are living in. So this is for me, the first strong point of the book. I think there is something in the book that for the Western world, it's almost, and I will use a semiotics approach to pay my tribute to Dr. Drisha. I think there is a meta knowledge within the book, the fact you are from Kosovo. Because I think for the Western world, I'll talk about Latin America landscape again. Kosovo, it's an element, target of misinformation and disinformation since the 90s for us. So what do I mean? I mean that we know it's hard for us in the Western world to understand the political and background of the Balkans, because the media itself didn't make the right role in explaining this. And we didn't have media literacy enough until now. I mean, for an ordinary person, for an everyman, to understand what's the real situation since the war until now. I have very good friends from Kosovo, like Professor Ramzi Shahini, which is a person that I admire so much, my personal friend, and Abid Hoxhat, too, other friends. And as a person who are curious and wants to understand the world, I did my effort to understand everything that was going on there. But it's been a target of disinformation, Kosovo. And since you take the case of the political situation in Kosovo as one case, and you are from Kosovo, bringing the world this information, you are making the book itself a very important piece of media and information literacy for everyone, because you are translating all that scenario to the world that sometimes, because it's not, I use a word that Professor Panayiotou used, that complexity. It's not a simple situation to understand in two sentences. You need to go deep in the complexity, and when you touch this issue in your book, you bring us the complexity of the situation in a very simple way, which is very useful for us. So I think the book itself is a piece of media and information literacy that I suggest to be used by teachers and trainers, mainly in Balkans and in Europe, to look at the entire landscape, what's going on, to use this book as a guide to understand that specific situation. Another thing that I like in your book, Dr. Dren, that I think it's important when you touch the cheap fakes, because the cheap fakes are forgotten because the deep fakes came, and we are going to another. I like to pull the storyline, and you make the storyline. This is very important. Another step that we are going towards will be the synthetic realities. I think this is a word that's a very good word to be part of the same line, because what AI is doing and is going to do more, it's beyond the deep fakes. It's going to be synthetic. It's creating an entire synthetic reality. And there are some researchers that are already using this word, synthetic reality, to designate what AI is doing for disinformation. So the role of AI, for me, is very clear in your book. For example, the role in AI during the Trump elections in 2016, it's really, really different from the role of AI in the US election in 2024 there. Because in 2026, AI was a tool to only spread the disinformation. And now AI and the malinformation, now AI is a tool to develop, produce the content, target the audience, and spread the malinformation. So the role of AI changed in 8 years a lot. In the role of AI in the background of this information, from only targeting, sometimes spreading, for being part of the entire process, from the production of fake content until the targeting up to the spreading. So the entire process is crossed by AI algorithms. It's cheaper, it's faster, and it's more powerful than ever. At the same time, what we are looking now as researchers and AI developers is that AI could be a solution too for this. And maybe synthetic realities and AI as a solution for disinformation is a combo for another research, which I think it fits really well in this development of the story or the research you started, Dr. Dren. So if I can choose one word for your book, I think it will be clarity. You brought us clarity about the concepts, about how the concepts are applied. And mainly, for me, it was very interesting, since I have a lot of different discussions with Professor Ramsey and other friends from Kosovo, is that how is the MIL landscape in Kosovo? And because I know Kosovo has a huge youth population, yes, the youngsters are the great part of the population of Kosovo. So MIL is a need for the young parcel of the population in Kosovo, to make everything clear. So despite of Europe's getting each time older, Kosovo is younger than ever. It's important for us to understand that situation there, and makes MIL, it's an opportunity at the same time as a challenge, because as you said, when you think about MIL within the curriculum, you can reach the youngsters. But for a population that is more mixed with other ages, you need to go to lifelong learning. Otherwise, you don't get to the older, you don't get to the elder people, you don't get to the adults, you don't get to other the people in other ages. Yeah. And one point that I think it's very also that picked up my attention is when, and I think we need more this kind of discussion in our field. It's about go deeper in confirmation bias. What is it? Where does it come from? What is the war background and propaganda in war background from confirmation bias, as you mentioned there? Confirmation bias is something that we mention a lot, but we don't understand in depth. It's hard to understand. I think we need psychologists, we need linguistics to understand more the role and the function of confirmation bias. In DCN, we organized, in DCN Global, this alliance, where Dr. Nikos is the president. We organized in July a conference in Helsinki that we create a panel only about confirmation bias. What is confirmation bias, and can we create frameworks to tackle confirmation bias specifically in media and information literacy? I think this is a good issue to be discussed. And last but not least, your book give us hope to the professional journalism and the role of the professional journalism in the time nowadays. I insist that, as Professor Panayotou said, journalism is living a crisis. It's a crisis of reliability, of confidence, but it's also a crisis of business model and of existence model in this world. So how can we learn and make journalism more relevant to play a pivotal role in times of this mis and malinformation that we are living? So this is another important point. Congratulations for your book, and I hope people can use it to put light on these issues in their teachers training, for the youngsters and for the trainers. We need to train the trainers and to spread the MIL around, and this book is very important for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Always so pleasant and insightful to listen to you. As expert in artificial intelligence and critical thinking, you brought the component of synthetic reality and what are the promises of artificial intelligence to the field of information, and the comparison you made between the 2016 elections and the 2024 elections is something you see important to take into consideration, because from the time when I was in the for specialized people in the information and computer sciences, then that was something, but now it is accessible to all. So it is our role and it is our duty to guide our students, to guide the general public, and to guide even ourselves, because we are not literate in all these elements of artificial intelligence literacies. For the synthetic realities, you see some people advocate it because it can be used for good, and it is helpful, and how to get the best of it and minimize the risks. Dr. Dren, you had this element of three-step model as a solution. Could you please go and explain the questions asked by Alexander, the three-step model, and all these impacts of the emergence of AI, both for the benefits of information and also as a threat, and expanding and the magnifying the risks of disinformation, misinformation, malinformation. Could you please say a word on these different meanings of what is the difference between misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, deep fakes, cheap fakes? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jude, for the question. Information disorder is like the umbrella of the different kind of information manipulation, starting from disinformation, which is intentionally manipulated to harm someone. Then we have misinformation, which it happened, for instance, during COVID, when our friends shared an information that it wasn't real, it was fake, in fact, but they thought that it's real. And the idea wasn't to harm us. So in that case, when you are not aware what kind of information you are sharing, if it's not real and you are sharing it, we call it misinformation. Or even if you are a journalist and you are writing and reporting on something, and not intentionally you are saying something, a number or something like that, wrong, again, it's a misinformation. And malinformation is when you use any kind of real information and you put it on the public with the intention to harm the other. On the difference between deepfakes and cheap fakes, one, it's AI generated content, which is deepfakes, and cheap fakes, it's non-AI generated content, any kind of manipulation that we do, for instance, on images, and we don't use AI tools, but we manipulate it, for instance, on Paint or via Photoshop or something like that, then it's called a cheap fake. And even in the last election campaign in US in 2020, I remember First Draft as an organization led by Claire Wardley had a lot of trainings with journalists focused on deep fakes, because like the idea was that there will be a lot of deep fakes during the election campaign. But in the end, after the election campaign, they realized that cheap fake was used more. And the main reason is because it was cheaper and easier to produce it. What happened on those 4 years is that if 4 years ago we required a kind of expertise and high-tech skills to develop a deepfake, today that's not necessary. And now that's why deepfakes, it's much more dangerous, because it's easier to produce from anyone. And you can do it even like the case on New Hampshire that happened last year in the US, when someone paid around $100 to create an audio deepfake of Joe Biden. So it's, even if you don't know how to do it, it's quite cheap to pay someone else and to do it for you, even though now there are new tools that are much easier to use and to produce any kind of AI generated content that you want to have, which I believe it's very important for us to focus on those tools and what they are bringing in our societies, and also to see what could be the best way of making them seeing only like the right side of the medal, because like everything has both sides, and of course any kind of tool that has been invented, you will see a kind of black side of that using those kind of tools. And of course, if you want to use it like for disinformation, it's much easier, because you want to do it faster. You don't want to analyze it and to see what would be the effect on society and so on, which is something differently on the how it works when you want to create a kind of tool that will be used by anyone for the good of the society. And it takes more time compared to when you want to like If you want to publish a kind of disinformation today with AI, it's a matter of seconds. You don't need even a minute to do it with video, audio, image, text, all of them. So this is the era that we are living today. We have even deepfake, live deepfake, like kind of having someone here now talking and it's not Dren. And it's hard to know that it's not Dren because it's good quality. And it's something that is happening a lot, especially in Asia, when companies are paying a lot of millions because they think that an employee is talking to his boss on via Zoom meeting, which it's a kind of deepfake phishing that is happening there. So, and that's why also during my time in the US, one of the focus that I had was especially on deepfakes and AI. Also how it goes, the discussion and everything there, also in Europe. And now I'm working also on a research project with a colleague from University of Houston where I was based, and also another colleague from University of Memphis, focusing on deepfakes and the effect that deepfakes has using US elections as a case study. So we are creating deepfakes in this case, of course, for good because we are doing a study. But this is the way how I'm approaching these new things that are coming, and also I'm trying to like find the ways to explain how we can use AI generated content for good, how journalists can create tools, because there are some examples already in the world, in like Philippines and other places, when journalists or a team of journalists has created some very good tools. And it's the idea of seeing AI that could be a very productive, a very good tool for us. And if we can do something faster, why not to do that? It means that we will have more time to do something else.
Thank you for the insights and clarifications. So for our audience, misinformation, you don't know that this is false and you share it. You do not have the intention to harm. Disinformation, you know that it is false and you share it because you have an intention to gain power, to gain influence, to manipulate people. But pay attention, please, both are harmful because they both share false information. Then what is malinformation? You happen to know true, real information about someone. This is something private, but you bring it to the public space and you share it in order to do harm to that person. Sometimes the person sharing something, he thinks or she thinks that it is not false by mistake. So the lines between this information and this information are blurred, but this information is to be combated and fought because it is done on purpose. Dr. Panagiotou, Professor, could you please join us in the discussion if you have any questions?
I was following very closely the discussion, and I would emphasize on the following aspects of it. Firstly, regarding how we can be ready to address deep fakes, that it is something that actually is a large part of Dr. Dren work. I suggest that, and this comes out of the book, but I think that all of us have discussed it in various webinars, platforms, etc., that the topic is also related, and there is a need of social political engagement as well. It's not just a technical discussion. So in order to address it, to give it back to the panelist, I would say, in order to address the issue, shall we actually work just on developing technical solutions? Or there is a need to go deeper and actually mobilize the society in order to recognize this need? Let me give you a characteristic example. a characteristic example related with that topic is the following. The new iPhone that has been recently introduced in the European Union, it will have less capabilities than the one with the rest of the world. So then there's a dilemma to the citizens. Am I ready to sacrifice my personal, let's say, data, etc., or shall I actually defend it with a cost? This example with the iPhone, I think it stands out as a very good example on to what extent we are ready actually to take some steps in order to address that topic. Thank you. And relates a lot with disinformation, because there is a lot. I think that another important element that we should include in the discussion, it is the following element. Which relates a lot with how do we avoid how do we safeguard freedom of speech, okay? Because the reason says that there is disinformation, but equally we should preserve what we all in our societies manage to address, to safeguard democratic.
Thank you, Nikos. Dren, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that these issues are very, very important. And while I was working on an idea of how to deal with deepfakes in general, I started to work on creating a model I called Deepfake Shield. And the main idea was that we still are not ready to rely on technology when it comes to detect deepfake. We have some tools that are not accurate all the time. So we have this issue of what if something is AI and the tool it says that it's human. So and I started to work on this recently. I'm also sharing the link of the article that I published on this matter and on the 6 steps that we could go through if you want to see if something it's fake, and if it's a deep fake. Even like now we have video deepfake, audio deepfake, image deepfake, deepfake phishing as a types of deepfakes, and we have news deepfake, which is something that harmed a lot the media and journalism, because now we have also the real examples of using news deepfake on the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and creating a news deepfake of a France TV channel, in fact, of a meeting of Macron with Zelensky. And then those kind of manipulations, if we are not aware that could happen, this is one of the risks why people can easily believe something when it's AI generated, because if you are not aware that we have news deepfakes today, you will think that usually deepfakes is when we talk about politics. But the main concern today is that deepfakes has been personalized. Today we can produce deepfake for each one of us, and sometimes we are giving our data, like we are using those kind of like fancy apps, like when you want to make yourself older, or when you go in a different setting and you upload your images, and you will generate an image as I don't know, a musician or astronaut. On the same time, your data is on something that could be misused to produce a deepfake of you if someone wants to do that. So, and I believe that this is a kind of way that AI is evolving, and it's bringing like very interesting, but on the same time, I believe that we are not prepared for those new things that are coming. Like when OpenAI introduced Sora a few months ago, and then they postponed the launch of this tool, mostly because they saw that we are not ready for something like that. And I believe that still we are not ready for those new things that are coming, and we need to find a way how to try to be faster on this, because of course it's always more difficult to go and to have the steps of how technology is evolving, especially the AI technology is evolving in the recent months, and what is bringing us to our lives. And concerning the freedom of speech, I really like US approach when they discussed deepfake regulations, especially after the deepfake images of Taylor Swift. And in the end, they said that freedom of speech is the most important thing, and we don't need to create new regulation because a new tool has come, because AI is a new tool. Tomorrow we could have something else. And if we are talking about manipulation, if we are talking about harming someone's reputation and things like that, we already have the regulation for those things. So if there is a new tool, I'm not on that group of people that thinks that we need to create a new regulation, new laws because we have AI now. I would like to see the aspect of the ethics of using AI and to create guidelines of AI ethics and so on. That's very important, and I think it's important to do it for every profession, in journalism and other professions as well, because like everyone is using AI in their work. And when we were like, I had also discussion with US students in different schools, different faculties at US. And always the idea is that if we are teaching students, we are preparing them for the market. And today on the market, AI skills, it's very high, like required. So every company will require it. So what we need to do is to find a way how to make this AI tool much clearer and much easier to use from anyone. And of course, when we try to see the differences of LLMs, for instance, well, we will realize that in fact, we are dealing with AI tools that are not the same, because like database of ChatGPT is quite different from Gemini. And also the reasons why we could use those two are not the same. And if we know this, then it will help us to get more of what we need using those kind of LLMs. This is just an example, because when we are talking about AI tools, there are a lot of tools, not only LLM, but also other kind of tools that are there online, some of them even for free, and are there for us to use them.
Thank you, Dr. Dren, for the question of how to set the balance right between regulation of digital platforms and the freedom of the speech and freedom of the press is a thorny question, and it is being debated. I think that the United States has joined UNESCO in the efforts of regulating digital platforms, taking the human rights based, ethical centered approach to find the balance between, regulating the digital platforms and freedom of expression and freedom of the press. Let us see one question in the chat from Mohammed Ben Isa. He is thanking us for this interesting discussion. And his question is, he is a teacher of English as a foreign language. His question is how to boost students' critical thinking skills in this artificial intelligence era.
Mohammed, thank you for your question. I believe that one of the ways could be if you use AI to generate content and then you make them to discuss the potential of the bias of the content that you could have generated from the LLMs. That could be one of the ways how you can also make them aware that not everything that they get from ChatGPT or Copilot or other LLMs is accurate. And they will start thinking that we cannot rely only on this tool, so we need more. And on the other side, I believe that if they realize that to have a good help from LLM, you need a very good prompt. To make a good prompt, you need to be prepared for the topic. If you are prepared for the topic, I think that's very important for a student. And if they are prepared, I believe that they already have done the first step of understanding what's the issue and what's the discussion there, and also then discussion those prompts. And this is also another way of making them being more critical thinking on AI and AI tools and what everything of AI is bringing us. I read some articles talking about calculator and when calculator was invented. And it was interesting because on those articles, on those essays, it was always mentioning that now people won't learn math because we have the calculator. And I'm talking for decades ago. And of course, we have learned math. So, and it's pretty much the same approach now with the AI as a new thing that we have in our life. And when I hear people saying that we won't read, we don't need to read, we don't need to write, and those things, like in my opinion, we will be the same. The only option is that some things we will do it faster thanks to AI, and that's only even better for us because the life is so dynamic. So if we have those kind of tools that will be helpful for us to make things faster, I think we need to get them the benefit of those things. So that's my response to the question. And if we talk and if we analyze critically AI, I think that students will realize that they still need the critical thinking skill, even though we have an AI tool that will be helpful.
Thank you, Dren. We have 10 minutes left. We have two experts in critical thinking. Let us hear the views of Alexander and Nikos in this regard, critical thinking and AI.
Alex has actually produced something that I think is totally relevant.
Thank you. Thank you. I think critical thinking is a very controversial concept or empty concept nowadays because it took thousands of years to develop this concept since the Greek ones, paying a tribute to Nikos. The Greek ones started, like Socrates, start with this idea of thinking critically. But it came through the age. I made all this in my master's. I study all this process of what critical thinking is. So if you consider what critical thinking we consider in education nowadays is to put our conclusion a little bit, lift our conclusion a little bit, try to prove it scientifically, and then put it down again and conclude it. When you think about it, there is some aspects of critical thinking that we need to address through the AI era. The first one is that critical thinking, you must understand the techniques and the world around us to be a critical thinking. It's part of the process. And AI changed this view of the world around us. It frames the world around us. The algorithms can frame the world as a television used to do that. So in this sense, critical thinking, just to conceptualize a little bit, and then I go to the practical part, it's a concept that is affected by AI itself. But at the same time, is the solution to tackle the ethics effects of AI. In conclusion, we need to address critical thinking as AI as an element, as a new mediation between us and the world, as the television is, as the radio is. So I think AI literacy is part of media literacy in this sense. We need to address AI as part of media literacy. But as a new mediation, AI has a lot of different particularities. It's not a mediation like the mass media. It uses data, it's personalized, you interact with the machine. There are different things in this mediation. And so three layers of AI and critical thinking that we need to be aware of. It's one, the first one it's so obvious, but few people know what AI is and what AI it's not. It's not. Not everything is AI. And sometimes people are confused what is using AI and what is not using AI. We need to raise the awareness about what AI is and where it is. Second thing, how do an AI system works? It's not just technical. We need to understand that it's not only coding. It's something that go beyond the coding. What is this process of learning itself? Learning by itself, the machine learning by itself. Third point, what are the ethical impacts nowadays of AI in all areas? Education, environment, political, economics, and everything. And how can we tackle this? So the first AI steps for critical thinking is those one that Professor Dren addressed. Is the awareness. And to raise the awareness of what AI is and how does it work, we need to make this kind of exercise that he suggested. To use AI and to analyze how AI influences in our own thinking, our own knowledge production. And based on that, refine and be critical in the use of AI. So if you take the UNESCO curriculum from Media and Information Literacy for learners and educators, the chapter on AI is based on that. Raise the awareness, understand the ethical impact with the exercise. What's an algorithm? How does it learn? How does it work? What are the social effects? What are the political effects? If you take the AlphaMed, which is another curriculum that's online for free, AlphaMed it's a network from Spain. They release a curriculum for media and information literacy too. The AI chapter is the same thing. You go through what's AI, what's awareness, where it is, how does it work, and how can I use it? And defending the main names of media literacy, I think we need to be media literate with the hands-on. We need to produce to understand how it works. AI is the same thing. We cannot understand about AI without using it, being afraid of it. We need to use it, stress it, because using and stressing, we know the limits too. And the limits, there are a lot of limits. There are not only advantage, there are limits too. So this is very important, hands-on too. Do not be afraid of it.
Thank you, dear Alex. Yeah, in fact, I would add to this. I fully endorse what Dren said and what you said. But what is AI? AI is a machine, and the human being feeds the machine. So if you want to use it, you should have knowledge about the field you are researching, because I tried it once concerning one matter. I wanted to know the theme of the WordPress Freedom Day in French. I knew it in English, but I was so reluctant. I wanted to get it specifically in French. And I asked the question, the theme of this year, and the answer was that information for the public good. But as a scholar, I knew that information for the public good was the theme of the last year. And I knew that the theme of 2024 was journalism for the planet. And I said to the machine, no, you are wrong. This is not the theme of this year. The theme of this year is for the planet. And then the machine answered, apologies, I did not know. Then I switched the search from French into English. And I asked the question. Immediately after, the machine answered journalism for the planet. And I said, how come you have learned in so many seconds? You see, so if you are not knowledgeable about your field, you are the prey for false information, false references. So do not take it. I'm talking to students and PhD researchers and beyond researchers. Do not take it. It's just something easy. You ask the machine and the machine answers, and then you take the for granted what is said by the machine. You should have knowledge and expertise and high order critical thinking skills. 5 minutes left for this fruitful discussion. Just a few words from each or one of you as a concluding words. Dr. Dren?
No, I believe that the this kind of discussions are very important on what is going on and what is coming, especially of like we are talking about AI tools which are evolving very fast. And if there is a tool today which we can like explain how it works, tomorrow we will have a new one. And this is something that we need to like try to be proactive. And I believe that one of the ways is if we are proactive also on writing about those things, like short articles, short op-eds in different languages, and explaining to people what is happening, what AI is, and that it's much more than ChatGPT, because I feel sometimes that the general idea is ChatGPT when we talk about AI, but in fact there are a lot of other tools that sometimes are even better to use than ChatGPT of OpenAI. So it's just one of those uh, thousands of tools that exist and are there. And also another way of that I think it's important to discuss is the business model of tech giants and what is their main idea of giving us those tools. Because sometimes I feel that some of them, they don't care about the effect of the tool that has in society, but they just want to have it because it's money driven, and which is something harmful for the society. So I think it's also important for us to have this kind of discussion and to see what some or each tech giant is doing also on this matter.
Thank you, Dr. Dren. Professor Nikos.
Thank you. I would like once again to congratulate Dr. Dren for the insightful work. I think it is more than important actually to have this kind of efforts and contribution. I would like to stress out that we need more of this kind of scholarly work that balance between academia and practical recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Nikos. Now, Mr. Levosi Alexander Sayed.
Thank you, Dr. Drisha. Yeah, it was a pleasure. I think we have a good kaleidoscope of thoughts, of insights, of knowledge here. It was a very good session, I think, to learn. I learned a lot, and I like to congratulate Dr. Dren for the book again, and to thank all of you for inviting me. And I hope we continue. And I hope you have your volume number 2, Dr. Dren, of this book that you developed to synthetic realities and how to tackle them. That would be nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are grateful to Dr. Dren Gërguri for the honor of discussing his so important book of different manipulations of information in the digital age and in the time of the artificial intelligence revolution. We learned a lot from our discussions from Mr. Levosi Sayed, the expert in media information literacy, Professor Panagiotou, the expert of experts. Just one thing for Dr. Dren. It would be preferable if you use media and information literacy instead of media literacy, because as you are the advocate of communication in different contexts and the complexity of the issues, we are no longer dealing with media literacy. It is a combination: media literacy, information literacy, digital literacy, illiteracy, so many literacies that we have a duty and we have the pleasure to advocate and to help people get access to these empowering tools. It was a great pleasure having you all. Thank you. And let's continue the discussion on this topic in other contexts and other panels. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. I want to thank also the audience and their involvement and the questions they asked to enrich the discussion. Thank you all. Bye-bye.